The 1990 Hansa Dusi Canoe Marathon started here in the Kampsdrift Canal and goes right the way through to the Ernie Pierce Weir, the first major obstacle. Not a great deal of water on the river at the moment, and a great deal of apprehension at the start.
Ahead of the paddlers lay an agonizing three-day marathon in both running and paddling, this year in the K2 class. The country's finest athletes are amassed at Pietermaritzburg, including the double champions Tim Cornish and Graham Pope-Ellis. Pope-Ellis was, as usual, pensive as the world's largest canoe marathon was preparing to get underway, with no one really prepared to lay bets for the firm favourite team. Wenker and Kay of Natal, a formidable duo, but Wenker would go on to nurse an excruciating ankle injury. Jamison and Perro, Natal and Springbok duo. A kilometre downstream from the start at the Ernie Pierce Weir, the public enjoyed a spectacle of exuberance and racing enthusiasm as the rocks at the bottom of the churning waters lay waiting any error of judgment. Commercial road weir, one of the major risk factors early on in the race. First over the top were Springbok duo Jamison and Perro, who opted to shoot the drop, gaining 30 valuable seconds. For many others, however, not so lucky, the weir proved the scene of frenetic activity and mishap. At Campbell's Farm checkpoint, 10 kilometres into the race, last year's Dusi champion John Edmonds, teamed up with his brother Andrew, was in a neck-and-neck tussle with Gavin Tarr and Kevin White. But at the halfway point of the first day, Graham Pope-Ellis and Tim Cornish had moved into second place behind the Edmonds brothers. The heat was intense, as was the excitement. The traditional bitter challenge between the champions was well underway. The strain of the Dusi was epitomised by the utter exhaustion etched on Ultraman champion Nick Bester's face as he emerged from Devil's Cauldron. Further back in the field, the normal tranquility of the Pietermaritzburg countryside was splashed with the vibrant colour of 1,600 canoeists taking part in the great Dusi challenge. Amidst rolling farms, grueling portages cut across fields of grazing cattle, with the occasional electric fence creating some trepidation. At Mission Rapids, it was apparent that the canoeists had long overtaken the slow-moving water released from Henley Dam. Meanwhile, the wily team of Pope-Ellis and Cornish had forged ahead of their rivals in some of the shallowest conditions experienced in years.
It's so low. You take 20 or 30 strokes and you have to climb out and take 3 or 4 strides to get back into the main stream again. You just get into the main little channel and the channel runs out onto a sandbank again. So you're getting in and out of your boat, and that really saps it out of you. And you can't get a full stroke with your paddle. The paddle's only just scraping the water because it's so shallow. So you can't get a decent pull. So the conditions were very hard going, particularly towards the end.
At the top of Cabbage Tree Portage, 10 kilometres from the finish of the first day, the skill and stamina of Pope-Ellis and Cornish was now paying off. Their lead over the Edmonds brothers was increasing as John Edmonds battled with an unaccountable injury to his right shoulder.
I don't know when I damaged my shoulder. I think it may have been from dragging the boat. I was dragging it on holding the handle and dragging it through the bush. I may have wrenched it then, but at no stage did I actually feel my shoulder go. It was only at the last 5Ks, when we got in after Cabbage Tree, the last paddle, that when I put my right paddle in, I just felt the shooting pain in my shoulder, and I realized we were in trouble.
For the leaders, the end of the first day was in sight at Dusi Bridge, but the extreme heat had taken its toll.
The sun wasn't kind to us, the river wasn't kind to us, there were just sandbanks, particularly towards the end. We had a bit of water at the start, and we passed the water just about halfway of today's leg. And hopefully tomorrow we'll be able to catch that up. So it was really hard going towards the end of today.
You have to try and force yourself to not go too mad to catch up. It's a long way to go. And we left it until the long run and the paddling later on to do the catching up.
Meanwhile, at the back of the field, the drama continued. Amidst the intense heat, tragedy struck as one of the competitors suffered a fatal heart attack. For the rest, a sympathetic local population provided welcome relief. Tired and haggard, they staggered on.
That was a toughie. Yo. Not bad.
Hello.
Hello.
The overnight campsite brought welcome relief after a long and dusty first day. The summer night was all too short, and by 5 a.m. the sun had risen above a cloudless sky. Another scorching hot day for the weary athletes.
This kept us awake the whole night. The first person I can see that can snore in and snore out in the same breath. It's incredible. The castle does that to you.
Traditions become part of all great events. Before the advent of good roads, light aircraft dropped the morning news. And still today, the early morning paper from Pietermaritzburg engenders the hope of finding a personal photograph taken en route on the first day.
What do we know? Day 2 of the Hansa Dusi Canoe Marathon dawns after an excruciatingly tough first day in which there was a high percentage of dropouts amongst the paddlers, notably the second-placed pair of John and Andrew Edmonds. Robbie Stewart, you have more details.
John's shoulder injury was too severe and he's not starting today, which is a great pity. I don't think there's anybody who can catch Tim and Graham today. But there are a lot of obstacles today, the ledges, the slide, Tomby, Hippo Rocks, some very big rapids which they're going to have to shoot if they want to stay as far ahead as they are.
The first batch of seeded paddlers were dispatched at 7 o'clock, an hour after the leaders, Pope Ellis and Cornish, who were followed by the tireless duo of Wenker and Kay. A healthy supply of water had at last made the lower reaches of the Dusi River to the relief of hundreds of footsore paddlers. An almost unassailable lead of 13 minutes, the king of the Dusi, in composed style, cruised beneath the causeway of the familiar Marion Foley Bridge and beneath the huge silver pipeline carrying vital water to Durban. Behind them, Wenker and Kay were pushing hard to separate themselves from the third-place duo and trying to get within striking distance of the leaders. The halfway stage of the second day was the tortuous portage over Numeni Hill, bypassing an equally awesome stretch of the river, Mamba Gorge. At the top, in searing 35-degree heat, a welcome refreshment station. If there was ever any doubt that the Dusi is a hot and thirsty business, how's this for an insatiable thirst? And if the battle up Numeni wasn't painful enough, how's this for adding insult to injury? Ooh. Snaking down to the river to resume the battle amidst the trio of rapids, Gumtree, Tomby and Hippo. Beyond the rapids, the tranquil expanse of the new Inanda Dam, Pope Ellis and Cornish still forging ahead in the domain of Africa's many surprises. Meanwhile, upstream, the turbulent waters raged ahead. The trials and tribulations, the agony and ecstasy reflected in the frustrations of lone Umzumyati paddler B.V. Lovemore. Was he seeing double? Or were the sleek pair of twins gliding past him just trying to dent his already shattered ego? For the rest of the field, from there on, it was a long and uneventful 15-kilometre haul across the new Inanda Dam, now already close to 80% capacity. So intent was the determination to finish the day that this pair resorted to a vain attempt to swim the greater portion of the Inanda Dam. Underlying the mask of fatigue, relief and a quiet triumph at having mastered the day was the humble satisfaction of being part of the Dusi crowd. One of the more remarkable feats of the race was lone paddler Fiona Dawson's determination to complete the Dusi despite being 5 months pregnant.
I was going to do the Dusi double, and then my partner injured himself, so I thought, well, I'll carry on single. So,
What about, you're not too worried about your times and so on, it's just an achievement to finish?
well, I'm actually 5 months pregnant at the moment, so I'm just doing it, I'm taking it easy. So,
Your doctor know about this?
yeah.
The final day saw the might of the Umgeni pouring through the sluices of the Inanda Dam down into the valley below. Slicing through the water at an incredible rate of 60 strokes a minute, Bruce Wenker and Les Kay were hot on the heels of race leaders Pope Ellis and Cornish, having reduced their deficit from 13 to 5 minutes. At this stage, the winning pair were below the dam at Top's Needle. But for fish and chips paddlers below Top's Needle, pandemonium ensued. Mishap every canoeist dreads. The archetypal canoe wrap as water rushes into the cockpit, snapping the boat in seconds. Almost matching the feat, another canoe narrowly avoids a disaster. Another broken canoe, another dejected withdrawal from the race. The verdant hills of Burma Road masked the grueling torture that lay ahead. With relentless energy, 42-year-old Graham Pope Ellis and an equally forceful Tim Cornish pushed doggedly onto the summit of Burma, a taxing 2-kilometre climb. An encounter with a snake halfway up Burma Road nearly caused disaster for the leading pair, as all attempts to dislodge it failed, causing some anxious moments. Cornish, at the height of anxiety, contemplated abandoning their advantages and backtracking down the hill.
19 minutes up.
Approaching the summit, Wenker and Kay continued to lag by a steady 5 minutes.
That's the turn, Dusi. Don't stop and walk. No walking then.
Wenker carefully guarding his injured ankle. Rising young Natal stars Gavin Tarr and Kevin White making up valuable time in third position. Back in the river, the Pope and Cornish were paddling strongly in the mainstream, heading for home. Pope Ellis and Cornish's fourth double win was nearly in sight. Below the pump house weir, Hilton College juniors Valentine and Rowan at the final dangerous rapids of the race. Others, like leading junior combination Redman and Broutseth from Maritzburg College, elected to take the safer portage on the right bank. Running strongly through the long grass, Bruce Clark and Ironman athlete Henk Watermeyer, who had maintained a consistent fourth throughout their event, at times perhaps staying out of the water a little too long. While the main attention focused on the leaders, the determination to finish remained, even with those coming stone last. For every race, there are winners and losers. But with the Dusi, the real winners are those who gamely battle alone to the end. Graham Pope Ellis. He may well live in Maritzburg, but Blue Lagoon could well be his second home. Coming home for his 15th win in this great event. 42 years old, a great achievement. An achievement he couldn't have reached had it not been for his highly talented partner with equal determination, double international Tim Cornish. And 5 minutes behind, Bruce Wenker and Les Kay battling it out for every paddle and every second. Pope Ellis and Cornish winning again, 8 hours, 43 minutes and 39 seconds, 5 minutes ahead of Wenker and Kay, with promising Italians Kevin White and Gavin Tarr in third place, 8 minutes further back. Spare a thought, though, for the very last paddlers, some 11 hours behind Pope Ellis and Cornish. But mixed doubles, husband and wife team Rory and Jane Pennefather, the women's doubles, the sisters Marlene Lowenstein and Jenny Bentel, and the veterans won by Johan Klaassen and Alec McKenzie.